Dear Libra, let me be clear from the very first breath of this message. Today, Sunday the 23rd, justice is knocking at your door, and what it brings will change everything. A long-awaited breakthrough, hidden truth, or overdue recognition is finally aligning with divine timing, and if you're here right now, it means your soul heard the call. The message you're about to receive isn't random. It's a signpost on your spiritual path. It's the unfolding of something sacred that was never truly lost, only delayed for your highest good. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where the cosmos whispers louder than the noise of the world, and where your inner wisdom finds the mirror it's been searching for. If you've been feeling restless, like you're standing at a threshold with no map in sight, know this: what's coming is not chaos. It's clarity. The kind that makes your breath pause and your heart exhale. Libra, you are the sign of balance and justice. You seek truth not to win, but to restore harmony within and without. And today, the scales are tipping in your favor. A document, a conversation, or a legal decision may arrive unexpectedly. But spiritually, this moment has been preparing itself for months, even years. You may feel it in your chest, that quiet throb of anticipation. You may see repeating numbers or find yourself waking at odd hours with a sense that something's about to shift. Trust that. Your intuitive body, especially your throat and solar plexus, is more reliable than ever right now. If your voice shakes, it's because your truth wants out. If your gut clenches, it's because your spirit is being asked to speak up, show up, and claim what's been rightfully yours all along. Before we move into the cards and their revelations, let me take a sacred moment to thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for opening this space with your presence, your energy, your faith. Every like, every thoughtful comment, every subscription you give breathes life into this sacred work and deepens your connection to the Zodiac Whisper Tarot family. Your presence is not just appreciated, it's powerful. Your support allows us to bring these life-shifting messages forward, week after week, soul after soul. And believe me, Libra, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of today's reading. Because what the universe is about to reveal is not just a message, it's a cosmic verdict in your favor. One that comes not with noise, but with clarity, confirmation, and yes, compensation. Now, I want to hear from you. What led you here today, Libra? Was it a sign? A feeling? A whisper in your heart that said, click now? Leave a comment below and let me know. And if you're ready to receive the justice that's been circling your orbit, type this in the comments: I am ready to receive what's mine. I claim it with peace and power. Take a breath. We begin now. Sometimes, clarity doesn't come in the form of a loud announcement, it arrives as a quiet but undeniable nudge in the center of your chest. That's the kind of energy justice brings when it rises to the surface in a reading like this. It doesn't scream, it reveals. It doesn't punish, it corrects. When justice appears at the heart of your spread, especially alongside the Queen of Swords and the Eight of Wands, it indicates that something long overdue is finally being addressed, and not by chance, but through a divine alignment of timing, preparation, and courage. This is not about luck, Libra. It's about timing and truth. And perhaps most importantly, it's about your willingness to respond when the moment arrives. The presence of justice signals more than a legal update or a financial settlement. While those tangible outcomes may absolutely be part of the unfolding, what this card really whispers to you is this: Are you ready to receive what you were once denied without guilt, without hesitation, without shrinking back? This isn't just about what's on paper. It's about internal permission. About allowing yourself to finally believe that what's fair for you is not selfish, but sacred. Your peace, your security, your validation, these are not indulgences. They are rights. And now, the energetic universe is echoing that truth in a very real, almost physical form. Queen of Swords stands behind you like a guardian, clear, rational, but deeply wise. Her presence next to Justice means this won't just be an emotional wave. This will be something you can hold in your hands, point to, sign, or speak about with full ownership. She urges you to speak up, read the fine print, ask the hard questions, and make decisions not out of fear or haste, but from alignment. The Eight of Wands confirms that momentum is here. Delays are ending. Blockages are lifting. What was held up by confusion, red tape, or someone else's hesitation will no longer be able to stand in your way. And still, with all this movement, you must remember, you hold the final key. There may be an email sitting in your inbox right now, or a message coming in the next day or two, that contains more than it appears on the surface. Watch for strange synchronicities, a number that repeats, a name you haven't heard in years, or initials that strike something in your memory. These are often how energy speaks to us when it's ready to manifest into the material world. If a document shows up with the numbers 17, 50, or 500, pause. Not because you should be afraid, but because those are signals that something greater is moving behind the scenes. When life sends you a moment like this, don't turn away from it. It's easy to fall into hesitation, especially for Libra. You weigh every detail, every potential consequence. But this moment doesn't ask for your overthinking. It asks for your trust. That deep inner knowing that you've earned this. That you don't have to apologize for receiving what is rightfully yours. In many ways, this is what spiritual alignment looks like when it becomes material. It's the quiet miracle not of coincidence, but of culmination. Sometimes God doesn't intervene in loud lightning bolts, but in contracts that finally go through, in decisions made in your favor after long waiting, in doors quietly creaking open at just the right hour. So when the moment arrives, and it will show up with clarity, not fear. Let your signature be steady. Let your voice be clear. Let your energy say, I accept this. Because this time, Libra, the light isn't coming to test you. It's coming to honor you. When Jupiter stations in Taurus, the energy becomes less about expansion in all directions and more about grounding abundance into what is real, touchable, and sustainable. This transit, especially for you Libra, activates the house in your chart that deals with legacy, both material and emotional, as well as the hidden resources that have been waiting for the right time to surface. What you're experiencing now isn't just about receiving money or recovering a past opportunity. It's about how your inner value, long unacknowledged or misplaced, begins to crystallize into tangible support. Taurus energy doesn't rush, but it does promise that what's meant to be yours will arrive in a form that holds. Sometimes, it's not the actual event that transforms us, it's the understanding of what the event means. A delayed payment, a missed opportunity, or even a relationship that ended without closure may now resurface, not just to be resolved, but to rewrite the narrative you carried about yourself all this time. Jupiter is the great teacher, and in Taurus, its lessons are subtle but lasting. You may find that someone from your past, someone who once owed you, overlooked you, or even hurt you, now returns with a different posture. Or perhaps you stumble upon old documents, forgotten ideas, or unexpected messages that shift how you see your worth. The High Priestess showing up in this moment is no coincidence. She is the keeper of hidden knowledge, the guardian of your intuitive truth. Her appearance doesn't just speak of something secret coming to light, it invites you to become ready to receive it. There are truths we long for, and then there are truths we must grow into. What's approaching may offer you a new sense of personal power, but it will also ask you to stand in maturity, to choose compassion over resentment, and to release the narrative that you have to fight for what is already yours. In the world of self-healing and emotional resilience, we talk often about integration. That's what this part of your journey is really about. Not just attracting blessings, but integrating what they represent. If a financial reward appears, it's not just money, it's validation of your effort. If a long-lost connection resurfaces, it's not just a person, it's the healing of a thread in your personal story. You're not being tested right now. You're being aligned. And alignment doesn't always look dramatic, sometimes it arrives as a soft yes inside your chest when a truth finally lands. It helps to stay anchored in simple daily reflection. One gentle practice I often recommend is writing down 3 things that feel incomplete, confusing, or unresolved. Not to obsess over them, but to acknowledge them with grace. In the quiet moments before sleep, return to those pages and ask for clarity, not control. You don't need all the answers at once. You only need the strength to receive them when they're ready to be seen. Remember, growth is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like understanding a silence that used to hurt. Sometimes it's accepting that what you lost never truly belonged to anyone else. And when something long delayed finally arrives, don't ask, why did it take so long? Ask instead, am I ready now to hold it differently? Jupiter in Taurus wants you to build something that lasts not just in the outer world, but inside of you. You are the soil now. What grows from here will reflect how well you've tended to your inner truth. Let the light come not just to reveal, but to restore. You don't have to chase it, you only have to open the door. Even though Libra is ruled by air and often lives in the realm of thought, today invites you into a different kind of knowing, one that speaks not through logic, but through sensation. You see, intuitive truth doesn't always arrive in language. Sometimes, it comes as a subtle tightening in your throat, a flutter in your chest, a tingling in your hands when something important passes through your awareness. These are not random bodily responses. They are your internal compass aligning with external reality. And when justice is active in your life, the body often knows before the mind does. Right now, the energy around you is swift, precise, and alert. The Eight of Wands, which previously appeared, speaks of fast movement, communication, and decisions that can't afford to be delayed. That's why this moment calls for mindful action. Not frantic movement, but conscious, intentional steps that ground this cosmic energy into your real-world decisions. If a message shows up in your inbox, read it. If a document crosses your desk, don't skim it, sit with it. And if an opportunity presents itself, even in the smallest gesture, take a breath and examine it without assumptions. You may be surprised by what's really being offered. This is where ritual becomes practical. Not as superstition, but as a way to help your energy body meet the physical world with clarity. Simple acts like lighting a candle, setting a time to review your financial files, or writing a single sentence and placing it under your pillow create an energetic handshake with the universe. They say, I am ready. I'm not just asking, I'm participating. There's power in these gentle declarations. They activate a deeper part of you that remembers your value even when your circumstances try to convince you otherwise. Some people call this faith. Others might call it alignment. But in the language of the cosmos, it's simply readiness. And readiness often begins with small, human choices. You don't need to make 10 bold moves today. But you do need to make one with intention. It could be checking a spam folder for a message you never expected. It could be revisiting a contract you dismissed weeks ago. Or reconnecting with someone who once offered guidance, but the timing wasn't right. Now it might be. Remember, Libra, nothing you're being asked to do today is out of reach. What matters is your presence, your willingness to show up fully. In the teachings of daily spiritual practice, there's a reminder that grace often arrives disguised as responsibility. The email you don't feel like opening might hold your breakthrough. The small appointment you keep postponing might be the doorway. So the encouragement here is simple: slow down, look again, respond. There's also value in writing things down. Not as a form of control, but as a container for clarity. Write out what feels unresolved. Write out what's still waiting on you. And then write the words, I am open to receive what is already mine. That statement, tucked beneath your pillow or spoken aloud with quiet conviction, becomes more than affirmation, it becomes agreement. A soul-level signature that you are no longer delaying your own unfolding. This moment is not about doing everything. It's about doing what's yours to do and doing it now. In the stillness of action, in the humbleness of preparation, you meet divine timing halfway. Let your actions, however small, become a vote of confidence in your own becoming. You've waited long enough. Now meet what's been waiting for you. Sometimes healing doesn't arrive with fanfare, it slips quietly into your life, disguised as a confirmation email, a voicemail you almost didn't check, or a moment of silence where your mind finally exhales. What we often call miracles aren't always sudden transformations. They are moments of release when the weight you've carried finally begins to lift. And Libra, this is what you are being offered now, a gentle yet undeniable return of what is rightfully yours, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. There's a rhythm in the universe that becomes visible when we begin to slow down and pay attention. And when that rhythm aligns with your personal timeline, especially after months or even years of feeling like you've been in waiting mode, the shift can feel subtle but powerful. Think about this. How many times have you held your breath for closure, for recognition, for clarity? And how often have you convinced yourself to keep waiting just a little longer? This is the moment when that waiting begins to change form. It's not just about what comes to you, but what leaves you. The tension, the fear, the loop of overthinking, it starts to break. The presence of the Six of Pentacles in today's message reminds us that receiving is only half of the cycle. The real healing occurs when you receive with humility, and then pass forward what you've been given in a way that honors both your growth and someone else's need. Maybe it's not money you're meant to give back, but perspective, time, or compassion, something that didn't cost you financially, but took everything for you to earn. When you share from that space, you multiply your blessings, not out of obligation, but out of resonance. The Page of Swords asks you to stay alert, not anxious. This card is about curiosity and clarity, being brave enough to ask questions, double-check facts, or admit when something feels off, even if it looks right. It's okay to be thorough. It's okay to say, I need more time, or, can you explain that again? Sometimes, protection shows up as intuition, and your role is simply to respect the signals your body gives you, the tightening in your stomach, the quick breath, the inner whisper that tells you something doesn't quite sit well. You don't need to justify those feelings. Just listen to them. And then comes the Four of Swords, the sacred pause. This is your invitation to rest before responding, to reflect before reacting. Often, healing doesn't need to be done. It simply needs space. A moment where you are not expected to produce, to prove, or to process. Just be. This is where integration happens, not in the rush of resolution, but in the softness that follows. There was once a woman who waited 6 years for a delayed insurance payout. She had long given up hope, believing the system had swallowed her file into oblivion. But on a quiet Sunday morning, she opened an email out of habit, and there it was, the confirmation, the approval, the amount. Not enormous, but enough to feel seen. She wept. Not because of the money, but because she had almost stopped believing it would ever happen. That story may not be yours exactly, but the energy is familiar, isn't it? Healing starts when we allow ourselves to believe again. Not in fairy tales, but in quiet resolutions that come not when we fight for them, but when we're finally ready to receive them. And sometimes, readiness looks like brewing a cup of warm tea, placing your hand on your heart, and asking, does this bring me peace? If the answer is yes, even a quiet yes, follow it. That's how healing begins. That's how it continues. One small sacred moment at a time. There's a soft but undeniable shift happening in your life now, Libra, and it's not just in one area, but across the full spectrum of your experience, your finances, your work, your relationships, and your deeper sense of purpose. When so many facets of life begin to stir at once, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But what if instead of chaos this is a gentle alignment? A calling back into balance, the very thing your soul is wired to seek. Financial energy is stabilizing, though perhaps not in the flashy, dramatic way you once hoped. Instead, what's returning to you is a quiet kind of abundance, compensation for past efforts, unexpected support, or a long overdue financial reward that offers relief rather than adrenaline. Now is the time to practice wise stewardship. You're being asked to break the old survival cycle and make space for a more intentional way of managing money. 1/3 to live on, 1/3 to protect yourself, and 1/3 to invest not just in things, but in you. In your healing, your learning, your rest. That's how wealth becomes well-being. Career-wise, a window is opening, but not where you were looking. It may come through someone you thought was part of your past, a former colleague, mentor, or even someone you once underestimated. Opportunities are moving along the old pathways, but they're bringing new potential. If your current work feels stagnant or draining, that's not failure, it's guidance. The Knight of Pentacles doesn't race. He builds. Slowly. Steadily. With trust. Your next move doesn't need to be big, it needs to be aligned. Sometimes the most powerful shift is simply saying, this isn't working for me anymore, and daring to look at what might. In love, too, the air is stirring. A connection that once faded may try to return, but not as a repetition, only if growth has happened on both sides. This isn't about rekindling what once was. It's about recognizing what has become. You've changed. And if they have too, then maybe there's something worth revisiting. If you're single, this shift in your inner world is creating a ripple in your outer one. People sense your energy even before they know your name. That's why the right person now won't be drawn to your mask, but to your frequency. It won't feel like filling a void, it'll feel like resonance. Don't settle for connection without depth. Wait for the kind that speaks to your soul, not just your loneliness. And beneath all this, under every contract, every conversation, every decision, there's a thread that leads back to your higher purpose. You are being called into deeper service, Libra. Not in a grand, performative way, but through the quiet influence of how you show up in the world. Your life, your pain, your healing, these are tools now. You've walked through things that others are just beginning to face. And that means your voice, your story, your presence. They matter. You don't need to teach from a podium. Sometimes your light teaches just by not dimming. Let your journey become a lantern. Share your insights gently, like someone passing a candle in the dark. This isn't about proving you're healed, it's about letting your healing live. In a word you say. A choice you make. A boundary you honor. A kindness you offer without needing credit. Everything that's shifting now is part of a bigger message. You are not who you were. And because of that, your life can no longer stay the same. Let the parts of you that have matured begin to lead. Trust that where you're going, even if uncertain, is more aligned than any place you've ever forced yourself to stay. Your peace, your purpose, and your prosperity are not in competition. They are waiting to walk beside you if you let them. Dear Libra, if there's one truth I hope you carry with you from today's message, it's this. You are not simply at the mercy of the stars, you are dancing with them. You are not waiting to be chosen by fate, you are choosing how to meet it. Justice, alignment, and breakthrough don't arrive from the outside, and they bloom from within you first. And right now, the seeds you've planted in silence, the patience you've shown when the world wasn't watching, are beginning to sprout in the direction of your highest self. Let today mark something more than just a prediction. Let it be a turning point, a subtle but steady decision to walk with more clarity, more peace, and more courage than you did yesterday. You don't need everything to be perfect to begin again. You just need one honest step in the direction of your becoming. Maybe that's opening the email. Maybe that's making the call. Maybe that's writing down the one belief you're finally ready to release. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. You see, nothing can truly delay what's meant for you unless it's you refusing to receive it. But I know you feel it too. The shift is here. The clarity is on its way. The recognition you once begged for? It no longer owns you because now you recognize yourself. And from that self-recognition, a different kind of magnetism is born, one that pulls in the right opportunities, the aligned people, the divine timing. So I want to leave you with a few quiet but powerful questions. Let them settle in your heart like gentle prayers. What am I finally ready to stop waiting for? Where in my life have I been silencing my truth in order to be accepted? What decision have I been postponing, and what would it feel like to trust myself instead? Comment below and let me hear your heart. If this message resonated, I invite you to claim your moment with the words, "Justice has called my name. I'm no longer waiting, I'm ready to receive." Let this be the vibration you carry into your next 24 hours, not desperation, but quiet expectancy. You don't need to chase what's already seeking you. You just need to stay open, stay grounded, and keep choosing the version of you that believes in sacred timing, not delay. And if today's journey spoke to you, if you felt seen, soothed, or inspired, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where every message is a bridge between you and the sacred truth that was always waiting inside you. You belong here. You are part of this unfolding. And we'll be right here when the next chapter begins together. Until then, trust your timing, honor your intuition, and never forget what's yours is already on its way.